actual president, dear fellow Toastmasters and guests. You know that the 70th anniversary of the great victory takes part in a few days. I was a child, a small child, that day, 7 years ago. I remember that day very good. But most of you were not alive at that time, and so I'm interested in your strongest images of the war and of the great victory. Please, Denis, start. I will ask first, and mainly, people who are not in the program and who are the good speakers.
You see, I was already young when the war played out. I was about 25. So my strongest image was I wasn't there at the moment. And the thing is, I think it takes some life experience, and it takes experiencing some tragedies in life, probably losing someone to your close ones, to start appreciating what people did for us in the Great War. My strongest images are probably of, well, I imagine myself. Late in the evening, I come home, and I want to take some time to drink some tea, to relax, to watch a movie, a nice movie, and I imagine 17-year young males coming to the front and have life expectancy of about several minutes. You're sitting in the earth waiting for the army of the Germans. You go into attack, and you probably have about 90% chance of dying in the following minutes. So the strongest image of that, life was extremely cheap, and everyone who participated in the fights were unearthly heroes. Meaning I can't understand how they managed to do that. Hopefully none of us will have to experience the same situation. Hopefully I have answered your question.
Thank you. Now, please, Alex.
Well, I think almost every family in Russia was touched by this tragedy, by this war, and most every family lost someone during this war. In my family, my grandfather was the truck driver, and he used to drive through very hard, severe situations, and there were bombings and different other situations on the road he had to deal with. So it was hard for him and for everyone during that time. Unfortunately, I haven't asked a lot about this war. Haven't asked a lot of questions to my grandfather, and but for me, the strongest image was, I think, the Kursk battle. It was a decisive battle in 1943. I think when we won this battle, the war was almost finished. So it was the strongest moment for me in this war. I think this is it.
Thank you. Lisa, would you like to add something?
On duty today, not to speak. Thank you, Henry. Thank you for inviting me here. Dear Toastmasters and guests, thank you for inviting me here on the stage. Yes, I have to say something, and it's now the time when we are really going through all the information about the war, and we also watched some films with my daughter, and she's preparing the project. She prepared the project for they will have their own immortal, Смертный полк, immortal, what is polk in Russian, I don't know. Regiment, immortal regiment. They have this event at school, and we prepared the picture of your great grandmother, and it was really, I didn't realize when I was small, when I spoke to him, that he was really so young, that he was hardly 18. But what's my strongest image is that when I started learning German, and my grandfather was very excited and said that, I was in Germany, and told a lot about his coming to Berlin with the troops. And the story which struck me most was that he said that they were standing outside with this kitchen, which how to say, when it's outside, they cook something for soldiers, and there were some German kids just standing, and they looked very miserable, and they all invited them, come here and eat here. So it was not enough food maybe for all the soldiers, but they invited the kids. And my grandfather, it was for him, was really a great experience, that he all the time he separated fascists and the normal people, and it was the great feeling which I also took from him. Just the people are really are the same. The people suffered. They suffered the same. The people who stayed there, and it was for me, I think, the strongest image. Thank you, Henry.
Please write your name on the board. And everybody, please write your name, because we always have a table topic winner.
Hello everyone, thank you Henry. You are always raising very serious questions and serious issues. That wasn't an exception. So, my strongest image of the war. 5 years ago, I was passing my history exam in order to get to my university. And preparing for it was a very tough task, frankly speaking, because I had very controversial books. Several books were recommended for me to pass my exam, and there was some very, so to speak, direct information, so you knew what kind of was that. And there were other books which were about the same stuff, but describing it in other words in more acute and vivid details, so you can find out more, but they were not recommended for an exam, because you can fail exam knowing the more real facts. So at that age I grasped ultimately that you cannot be sure by all these books. And fortunately 5 years ago I still had my father alive, and I started to ask him questions about how it was, what did he experience, and these stories occurred to me the most vivid and the most personal things I ever heard in my life. He lost a leg in this fight, and he told me also a very not unfortunate, a very personal thing, that they didn't have enough rifles, and they had to wait for their friends to die in order to have a gun to protect their motherland. That's how severe and how bad it was for him personally. That was the strongest image which I have in my memory for the moment. Thank you, Henry.
Now, please, no, please, you were the speaker. Valery.
Valery? Yeah, Valery.
Yes, you were, excuse me, you Valery. Yeah? I would like to ask the newcomers.
Thank you. Actually, I have heard about, from my childhood, about the World War, the second from outside, from Russians, and actually I really would like to know about feelings from the other side, from Germany, why they started to this war. Actually, for me, I couldn't understand why. And 3 years ago, I was in Munich. As you know, it's capital of Nazism. And actually, I think for one moment I can understand why they started this war. They thought that they are perfect nations. I think you cannot notice in people.
Guyana.
Guyana.
Okay, thank you, Henry. My strongest strongest images of World War. Really, I can't tell you any stories about my grandparents because they didn't participate in this war. Because before it there was a genocide in Armenia, and they had to run, so they had to just survive. And in this situation, they didn't participate. But my strongest images are, I think, from the school, because at school I didn't like history so much, and I tried to pass it as fast as I can, like making different topics and so on. But at university I had a very strong history teacher, and he made me love history. So when I passed the history exam, really I had to learn a lot about it. But I really loved history, and now I'm more interested in this topic. And I try to read also stories and different opinions about the war. So thanks to my historical teacher, I'm now interested in this topic. Thank you.
Would like to interfere.
I remember that was there 5 years old, and we evacuated from Moscow to Ural we were 2 adults and 2 small children, and we struggled in Belarus. You know that Belarus, in Belarus was very large movement of partisans which helped our army to fight the fascists. They did it. It was a real massacre, but you know, right in this time, the order of Stalin was issued to not to kill the prisoners, not to kill тех, которые сдавались, в общем, не знаю, как сказать, but take them prisoners, not to kill the fascists who were surrounded.
Surrendered.
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 Who surrendered, but take them as prisoners. And he got under tribunal and was sentenced to be shot according to this tribunal. But it was at the time when such a very good, efficient officers and commanders were in grand demand, and he was somehow forgiven, but not forgiven, but he was sent to the very difficult front.
Regiment,
yes.
Regiment.
Yes, regiment. Yes.
Penalty.
Penalty regiment. Yes, and he was nominated the commander of this penalty regiment, and before them was the very difficult task to take some area and to defeat the enemy, which exceeded in number 10 times or more, and a few and they defeated this regiment, fascist regiment, and you know, a few of them were survived, but he did, and after the war, the hospital, and they lived in Moscow region, yes, and he wrote the book as he was a tankist, he wrote a book named "Записки советского офицера." It was a manual or technical instruction for the young tractorists and so on. Sorry.
Spoke to Russians. I know that Russian nobility spoke French in the 18th century. I know the result. The army entered Paris. I know that educated Russians studied German in the beginning of the 20th century. I know the result. Your army entered Berlin. Guys, why do you study English now?